We're coming, and we ain't backing down.
We don't need a bunch of cats in here looking in the mirror.
Everybody just do your job. You understand that?
Hey, will you shut up?
I'm bitterly disappointed with the officiating today.
Guys being dudes.
And they run through our like through a tin horn, man.
Alex, the mods are asleep. My office is torn down. I do not have a place to do a proper podcast. So if the audio on this is a little please bear with us. I'm talking into headphones held up to my face and talking into my phone to dear Alex Kirshner. But why the hell not, if the mods are asleep, wouldn't we just do a golf podcast? Golf is college football, as you exhibited last week on this very Split Zone Duo Substack with your post, every college football coach with a golf handicapped ranked. That was because there was a senior PGA Tour major, the Regions Tradition, in Alabama last week. And then there's a PGA Tour major this week, the PGA Championship. So why the hell not? Let's talk some golf, huh?
You know what? Let's do it. We've been getting pressure from the audience to just let it rip sometimes. And we have been asked specifically by at least 10 people, which is most of the world, really, to do one golf podcast. So, yeah, look, we're going to do it. I don't think that the Regions is a major for the senior PGA players, but
Oh, it's not? Okay.
what's really a major for the senior PGA player? The senior major is the U.S. Open. No, I mean,
okay. Well, it's a major because they brought all the college football coaches there,
yes.
Which is nice.
So golf kind of is college football in a few respects. Not just that there's some crossover between people who enjoy both. You know, you got a sport that's really big in the South and the Midwest where there's a lot of great golf being played, but also because...
Oh, by the way, hold on. We're stopping you midstream. The Regions Tradition is a senior PGA Tour major.
No way.
It's the Regions Tradition, the Senior PGA Championship, the Senior Players Championship, the U.S. Senior Open, and the Senior Open Championship. They have 5.
All right.
Just like the Senior Tour has 5 major, the LPGA has 5 majors.
Yeah. Senior PGA golf is interesting these days because there's one guy, Bernhard Langer, who is like in his 60s and just wins like basically everything. He's one of the most dominant athletes in the world, former Masters champion, lifetime Masters champion, and he just goes out and destroys people. He has won
recently tore his Achilles and came back off a torn Achilles in, I think, 3 months at age 66.
He has won 46 events in the PGA Tour Senior Series, which is now called the PGA Tour Champions. Nobody else in the history of this series has won more than, oh no, one guy has 45, Hale Irwin. But other than that, nobody has more than in the 20s, like 29 is the max. And Bernhard is simply lapping everybody except one guy. Golf is college football because it is the only sport that I would imagine suffers as much from managerial clashing and incompetence as college football does. Do I put that to you? Do you agree?
Given the current state of it, I think that there is certainly a case to be made. I'm smoking what you're selling there, on that. I see the tree you're barking up. Is that the way to say it?
Yeah. I suppose where the comparison breaks down is that golf is currently doing the opposite of consolidating. Golf is splintering in ways that make the product worse, whereas college football is consolidating in ways that, in certain respects, I believe will make the product worse. But if we want to talk about some sports that feature undeserving executives making tons of money while making decisions that are not in the best interest of the future of the game, golf has college football firmly in its sights for the number 1 slot. If we're looking for places where subtle shows of racism can be excused away as just part of the culture that no one need dare protest, golf's honestly way ahead of college football. I mean, they do it better than us.
Honestly, they're actually innovators in the craft, if we're going to be fair.
College football, in terms of its impact on the world, honestly, college football uses less water. College football takes up less land. College football cannot be. College football is a nationwide game that is beloved by people of numerous economic classes. So I think we found a sport in golf that, all of the things that sometimes get us down about college football could get you even more down about golf, including the fact that, roughly like 40% of the high level pro game for the men is now controlled by the guy who chopped up the dissident Jamal Khashoggi in Saudi Arabia, in the Saudi Arabian consulate.
Yeah, but the only difference is I'm not going to be playing college football next weekend.
Well, right. I'm not going to be playing college football next weekend either. In fact, I don't play golf on the weekends either. I play golf on Thursdays and Fridays because that is when you can move around the course at a brisk pace and have
move around a public course,
Yes.
course in the two very large cities that we live in. If you have a hookup to a private course in the New York City area, well, you know where you find your old pal Richard, huh?
You will definitely take him up on that opportunity. Richard, you and I play golf together pretty much whenever we're in the same town, I would say. I think we're pretty similar level players. I'm
struggling right now. I'm not going to belabor the podcast with my own golf game, but we're in the midst of a swing change right now, and we're struggling right now. But we're going to find it, and we're going to dig it out. We're going to find it in the dirt, as Tiger Woods would tell me, and we're going to get it figured out. But a long road to hoe on this end.
So we've played a lot of rounds together. You and I have each taken a decent bit of money off the other in our matches over the years. I have watched you shoot in the low 80s before, and I've watched you kind of blow up and be in a really bad mood.
There's no middle ground. There's no there's no equilibrium. It's feast or famine.
Yeah. It's a tough game. It's kind of an addicting game. I don't know that it's one of my better qualities, how much I enjoy it and care about it. But,
it's not healthy. Like I'm talking about me. I'm talking about it is not healthy. It dominates the non-college football, non-work hours of my life in either thought or action or cost is the other thing. It's not a healthy pursuit, and yet it is what gets me out of bed every morning, especially when I don't have a job.
Yeah. And there can be types of golf that I find to be not just really good for me mentally and exercise wise, but also they feel like community events. I've made a few friends on the golf course. I moved to Los Angeles. I don't really have many friends here. Got a few great ones, including Hector Diaz, who is our social media producer here at Splits and Duo. But I have made buddies on the golf course, 2 or 3, who I now hang out with, who I play with kind of regularly and might do things with outside of the golf course. And I think it's a good chance to get to meet people. I've learned just a smidge of Korean because I play with a lot of Korean golfers in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Do not make me demonstrate it here because I'll get it so wrong that it would be hugely problematic for me. But my point is there are places where you can go and play golf in this country, and it's kind of a communal experience. It doesn't feel elitist. You get a chance to be with all different types of people and have a nice 4-hour walk together. And, that is aspirationally what I want golf to be in America. And it's where I tend to have the most fun. Though, obviously, if you have a swanky club membership, you can call me as well. And I would be excited to see you there. Richard, the reason you wanted to do this show is that I did some journalism on Friday for our Split Zone Duo email list, which if you're listening to this, you're probably on, about college football coaches and their golf handicaps.
It's something that I've actually sort of wanted to do, or at least been a little interested in for quite some time. For the folks that don't know or who are not golf nerds or golf heads or golfers at all, a handicap, as you explained in the post, is to really oversimplify it. The handicap is the strokes over par that you would be expected to shoot on a given day at any given course. That's an oversimplification. It can adjust based on course, slope, yada, yada, yada. But for ease of use, to me, on your list here, most impressive is your guy, Pat Narduzzi. And I'm going to tell you why. Pat Narduzzi is rocking a 24.6. Look, your boy right now, I'm playing off a 16, all right? They're not fitting me for a green jacket either. What I appreciate about Pat Narduzzi is a real stand-up guy in the sense of Pat Narduzzi posts every score, and it's pretty clear to me that he probably plays by the rules. Alex, you've played with me. I'm not out there taking mulligans. You know, if you pump one OB, you drop and it's 3 on the tee. I mean, you know me, you know I get down. Yes, that has an adverse effect on scores. But as somebody who also rocks a high handicap, I'm assuming Narduzzi is like me in that he posts some scores that are maybe into the triple digits, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles.
No, that is in fact how it is for Pat. But I think that so we'll go through the list here. Pat was in last place among the 18
the
coaches
yes,
that had a United States Golf Association handicap. That means they post enough scores to have a handicap. I do not ever care what your handicap is. I care about your vibes. I care about whether you keep it moving. And I have no doubt that Pat Narduzzi is a good hang on the golf course. I think he probably bitches quite a bit about people he doesn't like, which is a great thing to do on the golf course. I bet that I would wager, I don't know this for sure, that Pat would be fine having a few brews out on the golf course. That's not really my thing. I like to focus more. I feel like it doesn't affect my play in a positive way, but like I can get down with that. I can get down with having a good camaraderie type of afternoon. And I bet that Pat is very good at that. It's interesting, by the way. Pat Narduzzi is a 24.6. Patrick Narduzzi, who is his son, is a scratch golfer, basically. His handicap is 0.4, which
that also means they must play together a lot.
Presumably.
That means they must play together, you would expect, yeah.
They got a swanky country club membership in Pittsburgh. I think it's called the Allegheny Club, where I've never been. That is supposed to be a pretty nice golf course. And, you know, Pat will get his rounds in during the spring. Obviously, his son will be able to play at a significantly wider range of dates. But that's Pat Narduzzi. Pat is doing his best and having a good time and apparently playing by the rules, which I do respect. I put everything out, and that does mean that like once or twice or even 3 times in a round, I will miss what could have been a given putt, but it makes me feel better when I've actually like put the ball in the hole, because that's like getting not putting out in golf, like not finishing your putt and then just picking it up when you get close enough is the equivalent of deciding that you had a touchdown at the half-yard line in football.
No, it is not. No, it is not. If somebody else in your group gives it to you, which and you play with me enough, I'll give you something at 2.5 feet. Like, what are we doing? We don't do this for money. I'll give you a little something if it's inside the leather. That's fine. It's fine if somebody else gives it to you. But if you just on your own volition swipe it away from like 3.5 feet out,
right,
a yard out, like we can't be doing that. But I'll give you everything inside 3 feet.
Well, okay. Inside 3, maybe. Inside 2, absolutely. But if we're playing competitively, I might need to see a 2.5 footer. I might need to see a 2.5 footer.
Playing competitive. If we're playing competitively, sure. Things change. But if we're just out there, a little hit and giggle action, I personally will be having a couple brews. I'll give you something inside 3 feet.
So a couple more notes here that I can share.
Who do you think on this list? Who do you think is full of it on this list? Whose handicap are you not buying?
There's nobody that I'm outright not buying, but I'm going to tell you about the most interesting controversy about who might not be on the level. I'll go up the list and you'll know when we get to it. Trent Bray at Oregon State, he's about a 22. Jay Norvell at Colorado State, he's about a 21. Mark Stoops at Kentucky, he's about an 18. He's got a couple of club memberships, including one at Keene Trace, which I believe also has a bourbon operation at that golf club.
I also might expect to see Mark Stoops this week at Valhalla Golf Club in Louisville, Kentucky, where the PGA Championship is being contested, which we will yap about in a few.
You might expect that. Kalen DeBoer is a 17.7. He has not changed his club membership yet from Washington State to Alabama. Did get a look at him at the regions. Looked like a regular amateur golfer. Did not look like he was really flushing it. But he was out there doing his best.
do want to make this clear. A lot of people, you'll see that, whenever a college football charity event or whatever, you'll see a coach take a swing or what have you. Do not mistake somebody's action for being necessarily not aesthetically pleasing. Don't conflate that with not being able to get the ball in the hole. There ain't no pictures on the scorecard, all right? We have all played with some guys and some girls with some action where you're like, whoa, what the fuck is that? And baby.
Look, the best golfer in the world, best men's golfer in the world, I think I'd argue the best golfer overall right now is Nelly Korda, who basically never loses. But Scotty Scheffler has a golf swing. He's a Texas Longhorn, by the way, has a golf swing that is like incredibly bizarre to look at. And yet he's the best hitter of the golf ball in the entire world. So agreed. You can do it weird. It can work. Dan Lanning is a 16.3. I think that surprised me that it's not a little higher for him. Just feels like an athlete to me.
Younger guy. Yeah.
It's a younger guy. Kyle Whittingham's a 14.4.
I'm surprised Kyle Whittingham is this high because I think Kyle Whittingham, as I understand Kyle Whittingham, he's gotten a little, I don't want to say chiller, more hands off on things, but like guy likes to ride a motorcycle. Guy, he likes to do some things off.
Right. Jeff Tedford at Fresno State is a 13.8. Now this one, I think I can tell exactly what happened. He was playing a lot in 2021, the year that he wasn't coaching. He has been able to play less since then, but Jeff still got a pretty solid game. And he has a couple of club memberships in California. Kirby's a 12.6, which I can't decide if I would think Kirby Smart would be better than that or worse. He seems like a guy who never leaves the office or the recruiting trail to me, but he has a pretty nice swing. And like he also seems like the kind of guy who just wouldn't accept not being pretty good at anything that he does. He posted 5 scores in the spring of 2021 and 9 in 2022. Only played golf once in 2023 that he posted a score. Maybe that explains the fall off. Georgia becomes a national championship program. He realizes he can't play golf as much.
One coach who is not on here, who was actually pretty surprised is not on here, is Dabo. As I understand it, Dabo be out here. On the
Dabo, I think just might not be keeping a handicap because his son Will Sweeney is a 9.4, which is a pretty good player. Did you search William Sweeney? I searched every possible iteration of Dabo's name. Yeah.
Okay.
I was pretty exacting about this. And I think I got everyone except I might have missed Ryan Walters at Purdue. Because with certain names, it's a little bit tougher.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like it would have been tough to find Jonathan Smith, for instance, but it appeared that he did not have one. So Kirby, I think you might think he'd be a little better, in part because I know for a fact that Kirby is friends with like 6 PGA Tour players. Like Georgia just churns out professional golfers, and they all like come to Georgia games, and he's like on a first name basis with a bunch of them. So you might think he'd be a little better, but there's just not really a ton of time if you're Kirby Smart, I gather, to go out and play golf. So I understand that. Got Mike Houston at a 12.6 at East Carolina. Let's just say I think he might have an opportunity in the coming years to really get that number down if he is interested.
Okay. I guess he's not a college football coach anymore, technically. But Skip Holtz, I imagine Skip Holtz's handicap is also pretty decent. Skip, son of Lou. Lou is an Augusta National member. And I know that Skip and Skip's son Trey, who played at Texas and coached at Ohio State a little bit, they have all been with Lou to Augusta. I remember I was watching a par 3 contest one year, the day before the Masters, and Lou was just like on one of the tees. The tee boxes, like in his green jacket. So I imagine Lou still gets around a little bit too.
I can tell you that Skip Holtz is an 8.7, which is a good player. He is a member.
That's a good player.
He is a member at the same South Carolina club that the Sweeneys are members at, according to my research. Which by research I mean via looking it up on the United States Golf Association handicap website.
What club is that?
It's called the Cliffs Clubs. Don't know much about it. I think the most like ritzy country club membership that is on this list is Shane Beamer, who is at Kiowa Island in South Carolina, where they played the PGA Championship that Phil Mickelson won a few years ago. That's regarded as one of the hardest golf courses in the world. So Shane's doing pretty good. Shane's got a couple of country club memberships. And I hear that Frank Beamer was a pretty good player as well in his prime, and he may still be.
I will actually be playing Kiowa for myself in
Ooh.
a couple months. I'm going down there for a wedding. So I will be subjecting myself to everything that Kiowa Golf has to offer. I will leave battered and bruised, but am looking forward to it.
Ryan Day of The Ohio State University plays at a 12.1 handicap. He's got memberships at the Marquee Club near Columbus and Muirfield, which is Jack Nicklaus's club. 12.1 is fine. I'm a 12.2, so I'm right between Ryan Day and Mike Houston and Kirby Smart. It's fine. It's notable that Urban Meyer is a 9.2. So this is an area in which Ryan Day has been perfectly fine, but not quite as good as Urban Meyer.
Urban, I know at least Urban lives. Well, maybe lived after the Florida move and the unpleasantness that happened in the Columbus area.
That's interesting. He still has a couple of registered scores in Ohio. So that's Ryan Day. Nick Saban, by the way, is a 10.6, but he hasn't posted a score in a year. Nick Saban's in his 70s. I don't know how Nick's shooting these days. I suspect he'll be playing a lot more.
He's playing. That like the streets inform me that Nick is playing. I mean, it's Nick's a guy who needs a purpose in life. And he's got to have something that applies himself. And I think if you know anything about the way that like Nick Saban's mind works, I think it lends itself to being over obsessive about golf. Definitely.
Probably so.
It's a process driven endeavor.
So this list, we keep going on, and if you're a subscriber, which I think you are, you've probably already read it. So I'm not going to rehash every point, but Dave Doran is a 10.4. It's a good player. Shane Beamer at 7.3. Hugh Freeze at 6.9. We're coming back to that. Jason Candle at a 5.7. Did hear from one tipster who cast some aspersions on Candle at 5.7. He's got a couple of club memberships in Toledo. I don't know that I'm buying the tipster. I think Candle looks pretty athletic. I think he's probably a good player, but just sharing all the information that comes into us, and you can do with it what you will. The best,
hey, Alex, I am buying Hugh. Let's at a nice 6.9. To be honest with you.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about this one because this is by far the most interesting thing to dig into. The champion here of college football coaches, by far, it's not close, is Trent Dilfer, the head coach at UAB.
I'm also buying Trent Dilfer. I am also buying Trent Dilfer. I have sourced information about Trent Dilfer's handicap.
So Trent Dilfer, according to friend of the show, Chris Vanini, the year that ESPN let him go, played golf 218 times. Dilfer told
Vanini. So Chris has also heard this story. Yeah. Yes, somebody from ESPN told me that Dilfer is like an absolute stick when I used to work at ESPN.
Yeah, Dilfer plays a lot of golf. Dilfer has also contended and played numerous times in the big celebrity Lake Tahoe thing that a bunch of players
can play.
So Dilfer can play. I think that if you went out and played golf with Trent Dilfer, you would leave thinking that Trent Dilfer was very close to, if not the best golfer you have ever been in a group with or seen in person if you have not gone to a tour event. He is a plus 0.1, meaning that technically he is even better than a scratch golfer, and you would expect him to shoot. I'm not gonna dig into this hole. But if you see Trent Dilfer, there's a chance in any given day that he's going to shoot under 72. So he is a great player. All right, Richard. Hugh Freeze is 6.9. I'm buying it as well.
Yeah, man. The birdies have told me he can play. The birdies, golf term, have told me Mans can play, and I buy it.
So Hugh Freeze plays a ton of golf. Like, I am stunned by how much golf this guy plays while being the head coach of an SEC program. He posted 9 scores in April, playing basically 1 in 3 days in the month of April. He only played once in March because Auburn was in spring practice in March. So, He's separating church and state a little bit. But I get the sense that when Auburn is not in a busy recruiting season, and it's not the football season, you want to find Hugh Freeze, golf course, reasonably good bet. He clearly plays a ton of golf. Now, video has circulated from the regions of Hugh Freeze's swing. It's a bit weird. Some odd like arm action when he's at the top of his backswing. And a 6.9 handicap is a good player. I mean, this is a guy who you would expect to shoot in the upper 70s, low to mid 80s, most of his rounds. It's a really good amateur player. I think that he has found a way to make it work, because I have heard also from the birdies, familiar with the club scene in Auburn, Alabama, that Hugh Freeze is actually quite good. And that he mixes a little bit of work and play, but this time not in a way that gets him in trouble with records requests. I think that with Auburn's money people, you might find Hugh Freeze out on the links. And so I don't think it's a vanity cap, Richard. I think it's legitimate.
Yeah, I would love to see it in person from Hugh Freeze, to be honest with you. I've seen some video, and again, can't judge a man on his action. Maybe he puts the lights out, but I'm buying the 6 point.
The thing about this is that handicaps are a funny thing. It kind of depends on what kind of person you are, what you want your handicap to look like. If you are really secure in yourself and you don't judge yourself based on how low your golf handicap is, you actually might want it to be higher, because you have a better chance of winning matches when you play against somebody, or doing well in a tournament, because golf has this genius system that they've devised so that if I went out there against Tiger Woods, I could contend with him and we would play a pretty close match, because Tiger has a handicap and I have a handicap. And it's a genius system that golf has devised so that players of all levels can play together. Some people want their handicap to be higher and even intentionally go into the tank before they go to tournaments, for instance, because they want to have an advantage. Really shouldn't do that, but there are people who will admit that they have done that. Then there are people who are insecure and judge themselves based on how good they are at golf, and they want it to be a lower number just because they want to feel better about themselves. I want my number to be as low as possible. Yeah, no, I want it to be.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, good. I was a 22 a year ago, and getting it down to a 12 has been like a scratching and clawing. And until I get into the single digits, I probably will not be very happy. I sense that Hugh probably is more like me in that regard. But I can't.
The other thing is these guys are all like 1% competitors, like just competitive by nature people. I mean, they are the 1% of the 1% most competitive people on planet Earth. Again, obviously their athletic careers have lapsed personally as far as being on the football field. But, a lot of these guys, if it's on the golf course, if it's playing cards, if it's playing hopscotch, like these guys aren't scared to compete. And so there is also a lot of that going on. And I think the beauty of golf, and for me, why I find golf so fun, frustrating, mysterious, really life-giving is, and I do mean that, life-giving, is the competition with oneself. Now, I like playing for money till the day is long, but the ability to play against yourself and mentally and physically within your own body, and that's why I find the game so endlessly exhilarating and frustrating from shot to shot.
Yeah, I think the feeling of a perfectly struck golf shot is one of the great things in sports, and it's one of the only.
I'm serious.
Yeah,
in life,
it's one of the only things in sports where you can put yourself in the shoes of the greats for a second, and it's not real. Even if you hit the best shot of your life, while it is true that, hey, you hold out from 115 yards. Jordan Spieth probably wouldn't have done that on that shot. He would still strike the ball in a way that would sound better, and like you can't hit it like them, but you can't. You're never
every once in a while you can. Every once in a while you can. That's the problem. The problem.
You're never gonna do anything that's gonna make you feel like, damn, like I know what Derrick Henry's going through when he steps to the line. Like when he takes the handoff from Will Levis and barrels towards
now
the line.
Lamar Jackson.
Yep. Oh, excuse me. Yep, now Lamar Jackson. You're never going to feel that. And you're never going to know what it's like to return a Serena serve. And you're never going to know what it's like to convert a one-timer on the power play from the left circle like Alex Ovechkin. Or to... I'm not going to go through every sport. You understand the point.
More. Give me one more. Give me one more. You're close. Give me one more.
Or to weave your way through taller athletes like Lionel Messi and then stick one inside the post. But in golf, you can do that or fake it for a second every generation or two. So that's why I love golf. And I think it's fun to be out there for a few hours and actually not be on my phone. Which I am on basically all the time. Except now, Richard, I actually am on my phone because I use a scorekeeping app that's on my phone. So
well, first and foremost, get the Apple Watch and use Arcos with your Apple Watch like I do. The other thing is we do have a golf tournament of some note this week. Very quickly, shall we preview it? PGA Championship at Valhalla. The PGA Championship, for the uninitiated, is not the PGA Tour's PGA Championship. Back in like the 60s, the touring pros and the teaching pros had a split. And so the PGA of America is different than the PGA Tour, and the PGA of America administrates the fourth major in the pecking order. Everybody knows the Masters, the US Open, and the Open Championship, or the British Open. But this is the PGA Championship for those who are not golf heads and golf fans. Scotty Scheffler, as Alex mentioned earlier in the podcast, is the odds-on favorite to win this tournament. He's basically the odds-on favorite to win any tournament he tees it up in, because he is playing.
Is he odds-on, like, relative to the field, like they think he's going to win?
A decent margin.
No, he's plus 400. So I think he's plus 400. So the field is favored, but yes, he is the runaway favorite.
He's a runaway favorite.
I thought odds on meant you're like, you know what I mean. Go ahead.
So the PGA Championship will be played at Valhalla in Louisville, Kentucky, or outside of Louisville, Kentucky. It is a relatively new venue that has hosted a lot of large golf tournaments in its young life. A little bit polarizing for reasons that we won't discuss. Not like bad reasons, but like golf nerd reasons that would bog down this podcast. So Scotty Scheffler, if you're looking for the pick, obviously he's plus 300, plus 400, wherever you find it, whenever you find it. But here's the thing, Alex. Scotty Scheffler just had a kid. I don't know. I don't know if I'm buying Scotty this week.
Has the kid been born?
The kid has been born.
Okay, the kid has been born. The kid has been born.
It's May 13th. It's May 13th.
Let's talk about how ridiculous this was. When he was winning the Masters, the reporting contingent was acting as if Scotty Scheffler was out here winning the Masters while his child was basically like minutes away.
Like, are you? Yeah. Like,
I mean, this was a month ago.
In May.
This was a month. I mean, this is
in May.
This is a shameful episode on the part of the golf media in this country that they just allowed this to become a thing. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, obviously, anyone should be on standby, of course. Like, you get on a plane if you need to. But the notion that he was like racing home for an imminent labor seems belied by the facts.
It is not. It is not the fact of the matter. It is not the fact. Obviously, I will be putting my Alex, tell me this. So I am deluded enough to think that Tiger Woods will win another major championship before it is all said and done. I don't care. I put about $100 on it every single time he tees it up. And I'm in the arena. And so when it does happen, I will cash out and I will laugh my way to the bank. So this week, Tiger's rocking the goatee. He's winning watch. 59 watch as soon as he hits a birdie on Thursday morning. I'm ready for it. Where do you stand on Tiger's chances? Are you deluded enough to think he won't win, or are you like me using rational thought about the greatest golfer who's ever lived?
I think it's over for him. I do. I hate to say it, but I think it's over. The thing is, though, even though it's over, this guy still creates an atmosphere around him that the rest of golf combined cannot match 5 million times over. I mean, Rory McIlroy comes probably the closest. I followed Tiger. I've done this a few times at different points in his career. I did it most recently when he was out in LA for the PGA Tour stop back in February. I wrote a story for Slate about it. Just spent the round following him. He wound up leaving on a golf cart on like the 8th hole because he was sick. But, you know, even when Tiger is in a dilapidated state and he's a shell of himself, it's still cool when he plays golf because it's like an in the arena sporting experience. Like the galleries are 15 people deep. Everyone wants to get a glimpse of him like it's the Beatles. And, you know, I'm going to miss that when there's no longer that in golf because nobody is ever going to do that again. You know, he's the best player of all time, by far the coolest on-course presence of all time. You know, I would argue that in service of becoming that person on the golf course, there were certain omissions made to his development in other areas of life that have been well covered by other media. But I'm going to miss it when he's no longer playing. Like, even though I think it's gotten kind of sad, I hope he continues for a long time because I'm a sucker for the spectacle.
What's your boy Michael Block shooting this week, huh?
It can't be good, right? I feel like it's got to be kind of an ejection for him this week.
Michael Block is a thing about the PGA Championship that is actually really, really endearing. Basically, the club pro at any golf course you ever go to is a PGA teaching professional. Earlier in the podcast, I talked about the split between the touring pros and the teaching pros. But at the PGA Championship, which is administered again by the PGA of America, a certain number of teaching pros qualify for it. So they like to brand it as the only golf tournament where every player is a professional. Because the Masters, the U.S. Open, and the Open Championship allows amateur players. So they say it's the only tournament or the only major tournament where they're all professionals. Whatever. So Michael Block was a teaching pro, or I guess is a teaching pro nominally, in Southern California, and has been ripping up these teaching pro only events for years. And then got into the big proper PGA Championship last year via teaching pro qualification and finished 15th last year and was he had, it was one of the most insane, he had a hole in one at one point in time. He chipped in. It was absolutely insane. So he's been living the life. He's had a proper 15 minutes of fame for the last year. I think our friends of the show, Brendan and Andy over the Shotgun Start, were talking about how apparently DJ Khaled told him to not say no to anything after he had his moment in the sun last year. DJ Khaled, also a renowned golfer. And so Michael hasn't. So I think Michael Block has been living a hell of a life the last year. And I do worry about the state of my guy's game. What I'm saying.
Yeah, I think that what's happened here is a little bit sad because it's an example of, you know, the human desire to just tear somebody down for no reason other than they've had success. But I know a lot of people who are ready for this guy to have to miss the cut by 15 shots this week.
Oh, you're one of those.
No,
you're hating.
No. I said I know a lot of people who are like that, and I don't feel that way. But I'm now neutral. I don't need to see the underdog story again. You know, it's like you've had your success. All right, exit stage left. It's kind of like a Cinderella in March Madness. It's fun when you get to the Sweet 16. Might even be fun when you get to the Elite 8. But it's the Final Four now. It's time to step aside.
How very G5 podcast review.
Yeah. Look, it's just at some point I've just seen enough of anything, of any great show. And this has been a great show. But I mean, Game of Thrones was on one season too long, and look what that did to the way that you remember that program.
Give the folks a deep pull for the week to get us out of here. I will give the folks, if you're throwing a little sprinkle, Akshay Bhatia. He's just a name that stands out. He is a very long shot to win, but I'm saying if you're putting a sprinkle on a guy to maybe finish top 10, maybe finish top 5, Akshay is my deep pull. I like the cut of his jib.
Yeah, I like that. I think it's good to take someone who's been in form, and he has certainly been in form of late. Give me Nikolai Oigod.
Okay. All right.
The
I like it.
The young Dane.
Is
who I-
he got you a little sideways during the Masters, didn't he?
Well, you and I, Richard, finished like second and third in like a 60-person Masters pool, and I would have won if I'd have put him on my team, which I thought I did, but instead I picked some scrub who didn't play well. So shame on me. Yeah, I like the young Dane. I think he's a good player.
I'm excited for the PGA. This is going to be a very long week personally, and so it'll be nice to kick back, relax, and watch the golf this weekend.
Now, our dear audience members, if you like this, fantastic. If you didn't, hey, probably not going to do a golf podcast every week, but we do want your feedback. We have thought a lot about like how much do we want to do the occasional podcast, especially in the off season. It's just us talking about a thing we're interested in that isn't college football, even though golf is sort of college football.
Everything's college football.
Hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, thanks for listening this long. You're a true trooper. Richard, happy hitting.